Tonight, on closing arguments in Morehead, Kentucky, a mother and daughter found brutally killed inside their home during a welfare check. Now, 44-year-old Joshua Cottrell is charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of tampering with evidence. We have the latest on the investigation and a look into the alleged killer's troubling past. In Riley, Mississippi, Jeffrey Spence is on trial, accused of murdering his daughter's boyfriend during a robbery. Prosecutors say he plotted with his wife and their daughter to kill Kirby Carpenter. The defendant's wife and daughter both took plea deals. Now, the daughter, Caitlin, takes the stand to testify against her father. But first, in Florida, a jury found Jose Soto-Escalera guilty of the murders of his mistress, Tania Wise, and their unborn child. Now, Jose is back in a courtroom fighting for his life as the penalty phase of his trial comes to an end. Will the jury spare his life or recommend the death penalty? Good evening and welcome to Closing Arguments. I'm Ted Rowland, filling in for Vinny tonight, and our biggest story is that one. It comes from the state of Florida. On August 24th, 2018, the body of 23-year-old Tania Wise was face down in a roadside ditch. At the time of her death, Tania was 8.5 months pregnant with a baby that she had already named Josiah. DNA determined that the baby's father was a man by the name of Jose Antonio Soto-Escalera. Prosecutors say Jose, a married man with children, was having an affair with Tania. He'd given her $500 for an abortion, but she didn't go through with it. And in an effort to hide his infidelity from his wife, he ended up killing Tania and killing his own son, the unborn child. And after a little more than an hour of deliberations, a jury found him guilty of the double murder. Then the trial moved into the penalty phase where jurors had to determine what to do with Jose. Would they recommend the death penalty or life in prison? Well, today, the jury spoke.
As to the murder of Tania Wise, we, the jury, find as follows. As to the defendant, Jose Soto-Escalera, aggravated factors. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Jose Soto-Escalera was previously temporarily convicted of another capital felony. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the murder of Tania Wise was committed for financial gain. No. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the murder of Tania Wise committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Yes. If you, the jury, answer no to every aggravated factor listed, you have completed your deliberation as to count 1. We, the jury, find by a vote of 8-4 that Jose Soto-Escalera should be sentenced to death for the murder of Tania Wise. Verdict as to the murder of the unborn child of Tania Wise. Aggravated factors. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Jose Soto-Escalera was previously convicted of another capital felony. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the murder of the unborn child of Tania Wise was committed for financial gain. No. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the murder of the unborn child of Tania Wise was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the unborn child of Tania Wise was a person less than 12 years of age. Yes. If you, the jury, answer no to every aggravated factor listed, you have completed your deliberation. We, the jury, find by a vote of 8-4 that Jose Soto-Escalera should be sentenced to death for the murder of the unborn child of Tania Wise, dated this 25th day of September 2025.
All right, let's talk about this case because this was a disturbing one. Let's bring in the think tank for tonight, criminal defense attorney, also known as Lawyer Lori. It's Lori Murray. She's with us, former sex crimes prosecutor for more than 3 decades. Stacey Honowitz is with us. Hi, Stacey. And attorney Ali Benevento, all with us today. This case, I don't know to what extent you guys followed it, but it was disturbing. This guy caught on camera talking with his nephew in a garbage truck, basically saying, my wife's going to kill me if she finds out that she's pregnant, so I'm going to kill her. And he talks it with zero empathy, zero after the murder too. He's just talking about blood and no big deal. Let's get some pizza tonight. Are you surprised, Lori Murray, about the recommendation for death from this Florida jury?
No, I mean, I think you have two victims here. The baby was viable at 8.5 months, I think. And so, no, this is one of the most horrible things that could happen to any woman. Male on female violence is at an all-time high. So I think they had a tough decision, as you know, evidenced by the 8-4 split. But I think that this is not surprising. I would have guessed that all day long.
Florida changed the rules of the game in terms of death penalties being handed down. Stacey Honowitz, 8-4 in many states means he lives, because most states with the death penalty require a 12-0, a unanimous decision. Is this going to hold up with the federal government on appeal down the line, do you think, or do you think at the end of the day, old Jose likely won't be executed?
No, I think it's going to hold up. I mean, you're right. You know, in Florida, it used to be unanimous. It had to be a 12-person agreement that the defendant would get death. Now we have 8-4. And certainly the jury only needs one aggravating factor beyond a reasonable doubt in order to put him to death. And in here, I couldn't hear everything, but I think there was more than one aggravating factor. And so I don't think it's going to be a problem. You know, like your previous guest said all day long, this was a horrific case. The vulnerability of the victim, the unborn child, it was cold and calculated and heinous. So I don't think there's going to be a problem down the line.
Ali, one of the defense tactics in opening statements during the guilt phase was, well, you know, this victim lived a life that was a bit shady. And at the end of the day, she is a pregnant woman that was brutally murdered for just the most selfish reasons. Do you believe that a defense in the penalty phase or in the guilt phase can haunt a jury in the penalty phase, or make a jury mad in the penalty phase? And looking back, was that a smart move to blame the victim because of her lifestyle? At the end of the day, she was pregnant and she's dead.
I absolutely think that the jury probably did hold that against them. You don't attack victims in a case, especially in any case, but especially not in a case like this. And so, unfortunately for him, for the defendant, I don't think that worked out quite well for him, because I can imagine that the jury was upset during that phase and was just waiting to be able to hold that against him. He's not likable. He has not been likable this entire time, and so I'm not surprised at all. It's an interesting strategy, and clearly it backfired.
After the jury came down with the recommendation for the death sentence, Tania Wise's mother, Elizabeth Bedoya, spoke to Ashley Wilcott and Michael Ayala, gave her reaction to the verdict, and shared what she misses most about her daughter.
I wasn't surprised. I was expecting it to go this way, and I'm happy justice has been done. Well, if you look at closure within the justice system, maybe, yeah. But within me, no. No matter what happened, and yeah, we got the death penalty and everything, but I don't get my daughter back, and I don't get my grandson. She was funny, caring, loving. She was always there for the family, for everyone. But more so with her son, she was stupendous. I mean, she was great. They would play around all the time. They have great memories together. And she was there all the time for him. It was what I missed the most, and I'll tell you, is her text messages. Because no matter where we were, even in the next room, we were texting each other. We were always talking. So something I miss a lot.
You can feel the pain in her voice. Lori Murray, there's a long way to go here. Death, the downside for victims in a death case, sure, they get the justice from the jury, but we're talking about years and years of automatic appeals paid for by the government, and this is a long road ahead for these families, or for this family.
Yeah, and I thought it was very interesting what she said about the closure and how she didn't have closure and probably never would, that the court case was over, even though it's really not, as you and I know. But, you know, what is closure? I think she's absolutely right. You can close that part of it and definitely know that the person who's, you know, convicted of it is being punished, but she's still going to be missing her daughter and missing those everyday connections and contact with her for the rest of her life. So, yeah, I don't know that you ever get closure, and I think it's going to be hard even watching these appeals come forward. I don't think he'll be successful in any of them, but I think it'll be difficult for her to watch.
During the penalty phase of this trial, several people did speak on the defendant's behalf, including a cousin, Joanne Stone, who asked the court for mercy. Take a listen.
Jose is a good person. We all went to church. We came from a terrible background, but we all stood together whole as a family. He's a good dad. He's a good friend. He's a good relative. And I just don't know him for this.
And the choices are he should be sentenced to death or he should be sentenced to life without parole in Florida prison. What is your position? Is there anything else that you would like the jury to bear in mind while they make their decision?
Yes, I would like the jury to have mercy over him.
Stacey, obviously 4 jurors were swayed by the appeal for the life here, and you know, it's amazing. You see these defendants, the people around them in their inner circle, they do come out and they say he's really a nice guy. Is this a case of a nice guy doing making one bad choice?
Well, I mean, when you sat through that evidence and you listened to how gruesome and how disgusting the evidence was, I think you're hard pressed to then listen in the penalty phase to somebody say he's a nice guy. How do you match the two up? But, you know, for your viewers to know that in a penalty phase in a death case, the judge can listen to basically anything. You can put on witnesses to basically say it's the last hurrah, basically, to kind of beg the jury like this family member did for mercy. And so in this case, it wasn't just her that came forward. There were other people that came forward to talk about he didn't have a violent past. He was a nice guy. But I think it's very difficult. Yes, they did sway 4 people. But I think in the long run, when you have overwhelming, horrific evidence like you did in this case, it's kind of hard to listen to somebody take the stand. And they know, of course, it's a family member. You're not going to get a family member up there that says he's a really bad guy. So you're expecting to hear what a great person he is and that this is a one-off and things like that. But, you know, in this case, it just didn't fly.
Yeah, you're right. You take it with a grain of salt when you are hearing a message from someone who is a family member, which is, they're going to have these feelings, obviously. Allie, this case featured an unborn child, and part of the testimony was the physician and also the medical examiner. And the medical examiner showed a picture to the jury of herself holding the unborn child. This was probably as difficult a case as you could come up with in terms of from a juror's perspective. When you have victims like this, including a completely viable, excellent health unborn child, it makes a huge difference, does it not? Especially when a jury's going to have to come up with a penalty.
Absolutely. I mean, jurors are human beings with feelings in their own families. I'm sure some of those jurors were mothers or grandmothers or fathers. And so you have to understand that they're coming at this trial. Yes, they're following the law. They're deciding the facts, but they are human beings with human emotions. And so I think that that was probably a very powerful image. And I would imagine that that contributed greatly to their decision at both phases of this trial.
Yeah, absolutely. Lori, for the defendant, with appeals, would you hone in if you're representing him on the 8-4, make the argument that 4 individuals wanted to spare his life and push that envelope? Because Florida really hasn't had that decided yet in terms of, since the law changed, nobody has been executed who was recommended for death with anything less than 12-0. And the first one is going to end up, likely at the U.S. Supreme Court because there is there's no other case. Is that where you would concentrate the appeal?
100%. But, as an appellate lawyer, I am not an appellate lawyer, let me say that. But I think you throw everything at the kitchen wall and see what sticks. But yeah, that's definitely going to be something that's going to get them to that furthest appeal. And honestly, at this point, they're looking for anything that will, first of all, be successful, but also buy him time, because going to the Supreme Court is going to take a whole lot longer than just a state appeal and going through the Fourth Circuit and then on up to the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court. That actually will be something that buys him a little bit of time. But yeah, I think it's a very good issue, and I'm anxious to see the result of that too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be waiting. You remember the Nicholas Cruz case. Of course, he was not recommended for death after the jury couldn't come to a unanimous decision, and part of the reaction to that was the change in Florida law. So we'll see where it goes, but for now, tonight, Jose Soto-Escalera is heading to death row, unless the judge changes the outcome, because it is a recommendation at the end of the day. The judge will have the final say, but one would think the judge goes along with the jury recommendation in this case. The think tank's going to stick around. Coming up, a daughter takes the stand against her own father at his murder trial. Plus, coming up next hour on Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, for decades, the Gilgo Beach murders in Long Island went unsolved until advancements in DNA led investigators to a New York architect named Rex Heuermann, the alleged Long Island serial killer. Tonight, we'll break down how DNA led to Heuermann's arrest.
Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
A tragedy on the Mississippi, a young mother executed
And her 2-day-old daughter allegedly thrown into the river.
Now the baby's father stands trial for double murder.
The Baby in the River murder trial, weekday mornings on Court TV.
I met Kirby. We started dating in 2020.
You and Kirby ended up having a child together.
I did.
Enola?
Yes, sir.
When was Enola born?
July 23rd, 2022. The plan was for when I went into labor for my parents to come from Virginia and stay with us for about a month after. I had been reading about the fourth trimester and how important that was for recovery and breastfeeding and new babies. So they offered to be there and help us through that.
That's Caitlin Spence. She's the state's star witness and co-conspirator in the murder of her boyfriend, Kirby Carpenter. Prosecutors say that after coming to Kirby and Caitlin's home to help out with the baby for a month, they left on November 29th. Then Caitlin's father, Jeffrey, came back and killed Kirby in an act of greed as part of a plan to steal his money. Now, Caitlin, she was involved in this, according to the prosecutors, but she had a plea deal. And part of that deal was you got to come into court and testify against Dad. And today, she delivered some very compelling testimony.
On November the 29th, they leave at 1 o'clock. Do you know whether you didn't have any communication with your dad that day?
Just that morning physically before they left.
But you didn't have any communication with him
I don't
after
believe so,
he
no.
left?
The first conversation I had with my dad, I believe, was on Thursday.
Okay. And that would have been on December the 1st?
That would have been on December the 1st, yes, in the evening.
In that conversation with your dad, did you ask him about why you hadn't been able to get up with him?
Yes, that was told to me in the conversation that his battery was broken, phone was dead.
On November 30th, that was a Wednesday, if you could tell the jury what happened that morning of Wednesday, November 30th, 2022.
From wake up?
Wake up.
Okay, yes, on November 30th, I was going to Memphis for work. So I woke up about 4:15, got myself and the baby together, had left the house probably about 5:15, 5:20 to go to Boonville, which is to the east of where I needed. So that's why I had to leave so early, because I had to leave Boonville by 6 in order to get to Memphis by 7:30.
Okay.
I needed to be at our meeting by 7:30. I took the baby to Bailey's, dropped her off, got her situated, and then took off for Memphis.
Okay. When you left the home, was Kirby at home?
Yes, he was. He was in our bed.
All right. And he was alive?
He was sleeping, yes.
Was that the last time you saw him alive?
Yes.
Get home. Do you remember about what time you arrived home?
I think around 8:30, 8:40. It was late.
Okay. And what were you driving?
Which car I was driving? I was driving my black Suburban.
And was Kirby's truck there when you arrived home?
Yes, it was.
All right. Anything unusual about going from your car into the home?
It was dark.
Okay.
There was a mess in the garage. There were cans and garbage strewn all over the garage.
Okay.
We had a pet dog named Lucy. She was wild and tore things up a lot.
I thought the dog may have turned.
It wasn't abnormal for us to have that to come home to.
All right.
But it was dark and nobody. The house was dark. I didn't see that Kirby wasn't there. Our door was locked, but his truck was there.
All right. Door was locked.
Yes, sir.
You used your key to get in?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you know whether your dad had access to a key?
We kept a spare key on our side door. It's how everyone accessed the house. Kirby's family, my family.
Was Kirby inside?
No.
Okay. And it's late in the evening, long day at work. Did you try to text him?
I'm not sure, sir.
Where?
I believe I probably did. I don't know if I did it immediately. No.
But over the next few days, hours, you did.
Oh, yes, I texted
Try to
him.
call, try
Yes.
to text.
Yes, I did.
Where are you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any signs of anything unusual in the home when you made entry?
No.
All right. And but no Kirby.
No Kirby.
When you woke up the next morning, was Kirby there?
No.
Throughout the day, you didn't know Kirby.
I was gone from our house for most of the day, but no Kirby. No.
Okay.
No communication with him.
And that would have been on December the 1st.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When did you find Kirby?
Around lunchtime on the 2nd. I'd gone up to our deer stand, and when I was coming back down off of the hill, I could see the whole property, and I could see where his body was.
Did you subsequently learn who killed Kirby Carpenter after this time?
Yes.
And when was that? The first time you learned who killed Kirby Carpenter?
When I had the waterfall conversation with my father, I asked him if he had anything to do with Kirby's death. I asked him if some of the things that I was hearing was true. He turned aggressive and very short with me in his answers. He said that it wasn't my job to find, who Kirby's killer was, that Enola was my only responsibility. He said that he did what he had to do, that the less I knew, the better, that I needed to keep my mouth shut or else I would lose Enola and kill him.
Daughter against dad on the stand. Lori Murray, Stacey Honowitz, and Allie Benevento still with us. Allie, this is a scenario where prosecutors go after the wife and the daughter. And at the end of the day, they say, if you're willing to testify against the old man here, we'll cut you a great deal. Suspended sentences. They're not going to do any time. Do you think it's a case where they thought, honestly, that they could get convictions on the wife and specifically the daughter, because we got to hear her there a bit? Or was it we think you might know a little bit, but we really want to add, and we know you could tell us. What role do you really think Caitlin, the daughter, played in the murder here?
It's hard to tell. Honestly, that dynamic is kind of heartbreaking to watch, seeing her sitting there testifying against her father. I would imagine that the prosecutor probably felt better about their case against him, which is why they made a strategic decision to make offers to resolve the cases against the other two in exchange for their testimony. I think it's pretty clear that they knew something and they have some information to offer, but clearly the case against the father is the stronger case here. But gosh, what a heartbreaking thing to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Stacey, you're a former prosecutor. How much dealing with the devil do you have to do on a daily basis?
Well, Allie's right. I mean, certainly when you have cases where there are co-defendants and you believe one case is much stronger than the other, you do make a deal. It's not unheard of. It happens all the time. Now, is it unusual when you have a family member such as the daughter having to testify against the father? Well, that's always a hard, decision to make. But in this case, he is the most culpable. She probably wasn't. And so that's why they made this deal, because they really wanted him and they knew that she had information. And certainly she gave a proffer ahead of time before they decided to make any kind of deal with her. They didn't just say, oh, by the way, just tell us what you know and, we'll cut you some slack. She had to give a proffer and she has to testify truthfully or the deal doesn't go through.
Yeah, that was a lot of the cross-examination, making sure the jury knew that there was a deal that she had to live up to. If you don't say what the prosecution wants you to say, you don't get your deal. Karen, in the middle there, mom and wife, she also got a deal, Lori. And if indeed this was a group decision from the very beginning, I kind of feel bad for the dad. It's like these other two just totally turned on him and are sending him up the river. He's looking at a life sentence and they're doing no jail time. What are your thoughts about do they need the daughter was very compelling. Do they need mom too?
Absolutely. They need to hear from everybody, and that's exactly how she earns her plea deal that she got. So they're going to put her up. But I agree. It's unfortunate that they set their sights on one people, and law enforcement and prosecutors do that all the time. They set their sights on the one that they think is the most culpable, and then everybody else gets the deal. I find it pretty difficult to believe that the daughter did not know about this, or at least know more about it, or try to look for him within 2 days. This is the man that you live with, the father of your child, your newborn child. So I find her story very difficult to believe. So yeah, they've signed the deal with the devil, and they are letting her get off scot-free to go after the more culpable person who probably pulled the trigger.
And Allie, it probably isn't going to hurt the state's case if at the end of the day a juror feels the same way. It's like, I don't believe the daughter, I don't believe the wife, I think they were all involved. They're still likely going to return a guilty verdict, right, against the husband, because it's not as though at the end of the day you're going to believe, you know what, I don't think he did anything, I think those two did it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're helpful, but they're not the whole thing. And so I think you're right. They probably get to the same place with or without them. And whether they find her credible, kind of credible, a little bit credible, she does have something to offer. I think they'll take it into consideration, but they're also going to consider the fact that she had involvement and she's made this deal in order to testify against her dad in exchange for leniency. So they're going to consider all of that. Juries are smart. They're going to figure it out.
Husband there, the defendant was taking notes and seemed very engaged today. Stacey, do you expect him to try to throw a Hail Mary and take the stand maybe here?
Well, I don't know if he's going to take the stand. I mean, certainly you have to see how things play out, and a defense attorney, as the ladies will tell you, makes that decision when they see really when the state kind of rests their case or towards the end of the case. But I want to agree with what Allie said about you know, her involvement, and Lori, about her involvement. I mean, certainly the jury is going to know that she was involved. She didn't just, you know, oh my God, I don't know how this happened. 2 days and she's not looking for the father of her child, the man that was laying in the bed. So jurors can read through things. And on cross-examination, she will be asked and hammered about the deal and why she made the deal and, you know, trying to figure out her involvement, because they do want to sway it away from their client. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to realize that whatever help they gave, whatever they were able to say on the stand,
such a good deal?
Was enough for them.
Because it did, you know, everybody
that
here
I can't
agrees.
tell you. I agree. I didn't even know that it was just a full suspended sentence. I mean, you know, maybe they felt because she has a young child. I don't know why it really is a sweetheart deal, as they say. Unless they thought that she really was the linchpin in this case, that they had to hear that the father basically confessed to her about what he did. And maybe that's the reason why.
Yeah. Lori, I don't know. Why not roll the dice? You know, offer him 10 or something. Get him, do sometime, because these jurors, at the end of the day, they're going to go home, read about the case, and go, "What? They didn't do any time?" And it is. I guess we don't know all the details, and but on the outside, does it seem as though this is a very good deal for the wife and the daughter?
Oh, 100%. They were involved in a murder and they got off with no time. So, and you know, and to her point, the testimony that she gave, saying, you know, whether it was germane to the case or not, and that they absolutely needed her, she didn't get up there and say that he told her he did it. She said that when she asked him, he got angry. And so it's implied. Unless I missed some testimony in there, that's just an implied confession from him. So it's not the bombshell testimony that they should be given these, you know, probationary or suspended sentences on. That is a fabulous deal, and she should be paying her lawyers a lot of money.
Yeah, we'll see what Mom comes up with when she takes the stand, because maybe she does have a direct confession to tell, a story to tell to this jury. Let's get a break. Think Tank stays where they are. When we come back, we're going to dive into a new case. A man accused of murdering a mother and a daughter in their own home. This is a heartbreaker, and it will fill you in on it. Before we go to break, though, got to remind you, this Saturday, that's September 27th, an all-new season of Victim to Verdict. Wow, it looks like a great show. And yes, well, I can tell you, first, it is great. Season premiere, Saturday night, 8 o'clock, right here, Court TV. Hope you could watch it. And if you're curious to know more about the high-stakes trials that are recently capturing the attention of, all of us, well, just watch Victim to Verdict. We take you behind the scenes, talk to the people afterwards. It's from crime scene to courtroom. Again, Saturday night, episode 1, the Delphi murders. Back after this.
The brutal murders of 2 young girls.
Delphi is not one of those places where this would happen.
I killed Abby and Lily. Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. Season premieres Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Let's turn our attention now to a new case we're following here at Court TV. It's out of Morehead, Kentucky. A man has been arrested and charged with the murder of a woman and her teenage daughter. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas is here with us. He's looked into it, and well, what'd you find out? This is a heartbreaker.
It's quite the brutal, strangest case, one of the strangest cases I've ever seen. Ted, great to see you here tonight. And just a twisted story that still has questions left unanswered. 44-year-old Joshua Cottrell is charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of tampering with physical evidence in the double murder of 37-year-old Kayla Blake and her 13-year-old daughter, Kennedy. Cottrell was arrested last Friday at a hospital nearly 5 hours away from Rowan County, where the murders took place. Now, according to the arrest warrant, law enforcement officials say they found him with blood on his clothes. Now, you're looking at pictures of Kayla and Kennedy taken from Kayla's Facebook page. The mother and daughter were found dead in their home in Morehead, Kentucky last week after Kayla's co-worker conducted a welfare check when she didn't show up for work. Now, a complaint warrant reports emergency workers found Blake's body in a back bedroom, and she appeared to be, quote, stabbed and bludgeoned to death. And Kennedy was found across the hall, found dead, and she had also been stabbed. Now, this photo here was also taken from Facebook and shows Kayla Blake and Joshua Cottrell posed together. Now, authorities have not said how Cottrell officially knew the victims, but it has been reported that he and Kayla were dating at the time of the murders. Now, some neighbors also weighed in on this violent crime. Take a listen.
I'm very glad to know that he's off the street, knowing that he's caught. I was a little bit worried whenever I heard that he wasn't off the street.
What would put him in the mind to do something like that?
The pastor said, don't let evil overtake you.
Now, this plot continues to thicken because this is not the first time Joshua Cottrell has killed someone. In 2005, he was sentenced to 17 years in prison for the 2003 killing of 36-year-old Richie Phillips. Now, when he went to trial, he was accused of murdering Phillips in a motel room, stuffing his body in a suitcase, and dumping it in the Rough River Lake in Breckinridge County. That's also in Kentucky. Now, the body was found 8 days after Phillips's family reported him missing. Now, Cottrell told jurors that he killed the man in self-defense, saying he was scared Phillips was going to rape him. Now, the jury ended up convicting him of the lesser charge of second-degree manslaughter, along with theft and evidence tampering, and he was sentenced to 20 years but was released after 17 years in March of 2019. And as far as this case goes, Ted, Cottrell is scheduled to be arraigned on Monday, September 29th.
Yeah, well, we'll get more information as this case moves forward, and we'll be watching it. But you see the pictures of that little girl and the mom. You don't, and then you see the mom with that guy, and it's a little bit like,
yeah, it looks like the Joker or something, like a walking red flag, if you ask me.
Absolutely. Cody Thomas, thank you. As always, let's bring the tank back. Lori Brody, Stacey Honowitz, and Ali Benevento. Stacey, to you first on this one. What's your first take with, we have a lot of information yet to come?
Well, I mean, what do you say? It's disgusting. It's horrific. It's heinous. It's every adjective that you can imagine. And you wonder if she even knew, because there are some things written in the press that they were obviously friends, but then it turns into, were they dating? Did they have some kind of relationship? Did she even know that he had done 17 years in prison for a prior manslaughter, a horrific case back then? And so, like you said, Ted, we're going to have to wait and see what comes out, what the evidence is. He showed up. He's in the hospital with blood on him, and they have probable cause to believe that he is, in fact, the person that murdered the two of them. But we're going to have to wait and see what how the evidence pans out.
Yeah, face tattoos doesn't mean you're a horror. I'm a huge Post Malone fan, so it doesn't mean you're a homicidal maniac. But Ali, it is a bit jarring to see that mom and daughter and him together, and the fact that that photo is out there, whatever their relationship is, clearly it was targeted.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't look like an accountant. Yes, that's true. But, this is brutal. This is awful. It's a lot of things. But also, based on what we've heard about his history, maybe kind of predictable. His past crime was horrific and had some pretty gruesome details to it. And so, yeah, I wonder, what was their relationship and what, if anything, did she know about his past?
Yeah, and Lori, to that point, if you meet someone, you can find things out, but maybe just a quick Google search of him doesn't bring up his prior convictions, depending on the state and what year. She may not have known.
No, she may not have. We're living in a digital online dating age, and records are there to be found if you know where to look and if you take the time to actually look. There are support Facebook pages, I think they're called Are We Dating the Same Guy? There's all kinds of things out there that can protect you, and they're valuable resources, but you have to take the initiative to actually look instead of just trusting your gut, because sometimes your gut is wrong.
Stacey, as this moves forward, the state is going to have to, they're pursuing this, obviously, the fullest extent. I'm trying to think, does Kentucky have the death penalty? I don't know the answer to that.
Kentucky does not have the death penalty. I don't believe it does.
So that's off the table. I mean, the top charge, he's going to face a double murder charge, it sounds like. And if he has blood on him, we don't know any other details, but just that fact in itself seems as though they have a case.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly that's prime evidence when he's at a hospital and he's got blood on him and it's not his own blood, you know what I mean? Or it could be a mixture of his blood if they were fighting back. But, Ted, in these cases, the police, because this is a press case, and it's been out there, not all the details are going to be released right away. And so this investigation and what we know the state has, we might never know until this actually goes to trial. But as you said, yes, him having blood on him, he's with them, he has a relationship with her. Certainly that's prime evidence that the state's going to use.
Alice, these people in my ear tell me Kentucky does have the death penalty.
I didn't think I'm sorry, I didn't think they
No
did.
worries. If it is on the table, this does seem like a case that might end up that way. Allie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you
That's
said
all right.
Lori. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I can't think of anything, other than what he did last time, I can't think of anything worse. I mean, it's horrific. Mom and daughter, just the manner in which it seems like they were killed. And then also the fact that he has a prior record and not just petty theft or a DUI from back in the day, that he has previously been convicted of killing somebody in a horrific and violent way. I think absolutely if it's on the table and it's available, I think especially in the environment right now where we are seeing the death penalty being pursued more, I wouldn't count it out.
Yeah, especially with a child as one of the victims as well. Thank you, everybody, for your valuable time on this Thursday night. Lori Murray, Stacey Hanowitz, and Allie Benevento. They'll be back soon, I'm sure. When we come back, we're going to reveal something else you need to know. Plus, here is what's coming up next hour on VPI. Tonight on VPI, prosecutors say Rex Heuermann is the Long Island serial killer responsible for murdering 7 women dating back decades. A judge ruled all 7 cases will be presented together in one trial. Will jurors be able to follow the volume and complexity of the case?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
The brutal murders of 2 young girls.
Delphi is not one of those places where this would happen.
I killed Abby and Lil
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. Season premieres Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time for something else you need to know. Let's put it up on the board there. This was something else. If you haven't seen it, dozens of suspects armed with guns and pickaxes robbed a jewelry store in San Ramon, California. Look at this. It's quite the roster there. This is in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's in the East Bay, and I lived there for a long time. This is pretty far out. San Ramon doesn't have this happen very often. Well, they came in, smashed the jewelry cases, made off with bags full of items, including the robbery. This is video from inside the Heller Jewelers, and it shows the stream of masked people coming in with their pickaxes, and they ended up making off with. They had to actually shoot the door to get out because they locked themselves in. So there you have it. They did follow them out the door with aerial support, and they have taken some folks into custody. They say no one was hurt during the incident. Heller Jewelers says they're going to reopen. It's going to take them a while to clean up, but opening on Saturday. All right, before we end the hour, I need to show a picture to you. This is Deshauna Hobson. Deshauna is 16 years old. She was last seen in Nashville, Tennessee, back on September 18th. A lot of people are concerned about her. If you have any information about Deshauna, where she could be tonight, call the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, or the number on the screen, or 911, or of course 1-800-THE-LOST. See if we can get her home to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. Another live hour of true crime is next with Vinnie Politan Investigates.